Okay, so this time you sent over something pretty interesting, a YouTube video transcript from the Ring of Fire.
Hmm.
And they focus on some comments made by the Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, about Social Security.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something that I think is worth taking a closer look at.
For sure. For sure.
So let's try to understand kind of what's at the core of this video and what it might mean, for Social Security down the line.
Absolutely.
So the big thing the video focuses on is Lutnick's comment about how only like fraudsters would complain if Social Security missed payments.
Yeah, that definitely kind of raises an eyebrow right away.
Right. So let's just get the quote out there so everyone knows exactly what we're talking about. Lutnick said, and I quote, if the Social Security Administration, just missed payments this month, only frauders would complain about that, right? My 94-year-old mother-in-law wouldn't call and complain, but a fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining.
Right. And the transcript immediately points out, like, this wasn't just like a theoretical, what if?
Yeah.
Like, there's a sense that this could be a sign
Yeah.
that there might be delays or missed payments coming down the road.
Yeah, and that's what I found really unsettling, right? Because it makes you think, is this some sort of like heads up? Is this a way to maybe soften the blow or something? I mean, I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's definitely unsettling.
Yeah, like almost preparing people for a disruption in the system in a way.
Yeah, and here's what's even more like concerning, okay? What if people do complain about not getting their checks, on time?
Yeah.
They're being painted as fraudsters potentially, right?
Right.
And that has implications.
It does.
You could lose your benefits if you're labeled a fraudster.
Absolutely. And it kind of feels like it discourages people
Yeah.
from speaking up,
Yeah.
if there is a problem.
It's like they're trying to silence anyone who might have legitimate concerns.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the video even goes into the numbers, right?
Oh, yeah.
To highlight how many people this could actually impact,
Yes, it's a huge number.
they say nearly 40% of seniors depend on Social Security for most of their income, and nearly 1 in 7 rely on it for over 90%
Wow.
of their income.
So we're talking about a significant portion of the population.
Yeah, it's not just like extra money for these folks.
Oh, it's essential.
It's their lifeline.
Exactly.
And then the video brings in the perspective of public citizen, which I thought was really interesting.
Oh, yeah. What they have to say.
Well, they argue that the people who would be most likely to complain about missed payments are not, fraudsters, but people who really need that money.
Right.
Like people who depend on it to buy groceries, pay their rent, like basic survival stuff.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or in this case, Social Security check to Social Security check,
Right.
you'd notice right away if it wasn't there.
And the video shares this really powerful anecdote about the speaker's parents and grandmother.
Okay.
They all live together, and they depend entirely on Social Security. So any disruption would hit them really hard.
Absolutely. They even say that if those checks don't come in on time, they can't pay for their utilities, their mortgage, their food, like basic necessities.
Wow.
One missed payment, and they're in serious trouble.
And that really highlights, the disconnect between what Lutnick is saying
Yeah.
and the reality for so many people.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't grasp the severity of the situation for a lot of Americans.
It's concerning, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, do these people in these positions actually understand the struggles everyday people face?
Exactly. And that leads us into the second big point in the video.
Okay.
They talk about this judge's ruling against the Social Security Administration.
Oh.
And apparently the acting director, Leland Dudak, threatened to just shut down the whole administration in response.
Whoa, hold on. That sounds extreme.
It does, right?
Hmm.
And the video uses this to build on the idea that, maybe despite what they're saying publicly, the administration is actually thinking about making cuts or changes to Social Security.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, is this a power play? Is this a scare tactic? Or is there something more behind the scenes that we're not seeing?
And it's not just this one incident, right? They also talk about Lutnick downplaying the impact of missed payments.
Yeah.
So you have this rhetoric from a high-ranking official,
Right.
and then you have this potential for disruption from within the administration itself.
Yeah, it's definitely a cause for concern.
Yeah, it makes you think twice about what's really going on.
Absolutely.
And then the video wraps up with this really thought-provoking idea
Yeah.
that there's this big gap between what's being said officially about Social Security and what the administration might actually be doing.
Right. So they're saying one thing, but their actions are suggesting something completely different.
Exactly. And it leaves you with this feeling of like, well, what's the truth here?
Yeah. It's like a lack of transparency breeds mistrust.
So to sum it all up,
Yeah.
the video really highlights this tension between what Lutnick is saying and the fact that so many people rely on Social Security.
Like almost half of seniors depend on it for most of their income,
Yeah, and then you have this conflict within the administration itself.
with threats of shutting down and everything.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
It is. It is. It really makes you think about the future of Social Security.
Right. So for all of you listening out there,
Mhm.
what do you think this all means for Social Security recipients in the long run?
Yeah, and what can we do to get a clearer picture of what's going on?
It's definitely something to think about and to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. This whole thing just really shows how a single statement can spark a much bigger conversation.
Yeah,
And it makes you realize that Social Security is something that affects so many people.
and it's something that we need to be talking about.
For sure, for sure.
So stay informed, folks.
Yes, definitely.
This is something that could have a huge impact on a lot of lives.
Absolutely. And it's worth digging deeper,
Yeah.
maybe looking into reports from organizations that focus on Social Security,
That's a good idea.
just to get a more well-rounded perspective.
Good advice. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Bye.